3rd and 20 Dynasty Podcast. I'm JT, joined by Frank and Lounis. No Jake this week. We are the week after 4th of July, so that means not a whole lot in the NFL news and notes segments. The only little slight touch-up was Alvin Kamara pleaded no contest to his, I think it was aggravated assault charges. That might be wrong. But he pleaded no contest to whatever happened, so instead of a felony charge, he's getting a misdemeanor charge. In the world of the NFL, that doesn't mean a whole lot because the NFL can just suspend him anyway. So we're still going to just have to wait and see what the NFL decides to do. I wouldn't say much actionable note comes from this. I did see in one of our leagues someone put Kendre Miller on the block following this news. But otherwise, I don't think it's that important.
Wait, so it literally just means zero? No, just nothing going on there? Well,
because the NFL just, at the end of the day, the NFL just decides whatever the NFL wants to do. So whether he was charged and was found guilty versus him being innocent here, the NFL is just gonna
it has zero
pick whatever they want,
do whatever they want.
Yeah. So we'll see. But that was our news and notes. DeAndre Hopkins and Dalvin Cook still not signed. Other than that, we're kind of just in a waiting period for training camp and all that other stuff. So we figured we would start off with some theoretical talk for you guys and then go into our divisional breakdown. So wanted to kick it off with trades that we're doing. I'm going to start us off because I was talking on the phone today with one of our viewers, Parker. And Parker was initially trying to see what I'd be willing to give up. We haven't done our rookie draft yet. Well, I'd be willing to give up 207 or 208 in the Superflex rookie draft. But eventually it was a long about way of trying to see what I would give Terrace Marshall up for, because I have Terrace Marshall. So I don't know about you guys, but this is kind of a two-pronged thing here because it's two players that aren't very interested, like aren't very coveted, I guess is why I'd say the word is. But what I offered Parker, and let me pull up the chat just to make sure I have it right, is I offered Parker Terrace Marshall and 207 for Cam Akers. Parker on Keep Trade Cut, that says it's fair. Parker wanted no part of it. He wants an equivalent of a first, a late first for Cam Akers. I said there's no way he's getting that. But when you're dealing with guys of these value, right? Guys that aren't, it's easier to trade. Yeah, that might be where I was going. It's easier to trade wide receivers that like I'm pretty sure DJ Moore was one of like the most traded wide receivers, or one of the most traded players in recent years, just because like he is coveted by teams. Like people want to try and get DJ Moore. They see him as like an undervalued player and they want to get him before he goes up, kind of thing. Vice versa, people see him going to all these different teams, only putting up wide receiver 2 numbers at best, and they want out on DJ Moore. So he's an easily tradable player. With guys like Cam Akers and Terrace Marshall, where they've largely been disappointing in their careers, a few more bright spots I'd say for Cam than Terrace Marshall, but largely overall disappointing. How do you guys navigate trying to trade those kind of players?
It's tricky because it really does come to like a person-to-person basis. Where like in your example, like Parker value and Cam Akers is like what is it, a late first? And I could easily see multiple people being like, I'd value him as a late second, or like something like 208. So that's what kind of makes it hard with those kind of guys, where it's like really does depend on a person-to-person basis. In terms of trying to trade them, I find it easier to do what you kind of did, where you attach a draft pick to them and just try to move up a couple spots rather than just trading them straight up for a pick. Because I feel like trading them straight up for a pick, a lot of times, like, what do you think you're getting Terrace Marshall for? Like, if you just traded him straight up,
probably not a second. Third. Yeah, it's probably a third.
I was gonna say probably a third. Where it's like I'd rather just attach him to like if I have a late second to try to like move up some spots, because I don't know, those guys, it's like standalone value, or at least maybe like throwing him, not even like a draft pick trade, but it could be like throwing him into a player trade to maybe get something done. I feel like those are kind of the best situations to handle them, because trading them alone is hard.
I disagree though, because it really depends on the asset. I think that Cam Akers right now is a tradable piece. You just have to be realistic about the price tag. To me, if you're asking for a first round pick for Cam Akers, that's being unrealistic about the price tag. Realistically, and it's probably the same thing with Isaiah Pacheco for a lot of people, where the people that have him, especially if you bought him for, let's say, a second during his camp hype, what, you're just going to trade him for then a second? No, you're going to obviously ask for a first round pick. But if you're actually actively trying to move a player, you can't ask for that high of a price tag. You just, like, there's a fine line of player that's like, okay, that, at least for me, maybe this isn't for other dynasty players, but there's a fine line of first round quality pick player and non first round quality pick player, right? Cam Akers, with all the blemishes, and part of that is if I can fucking sell him again for a first, right? But Cam Akers, too many blemishes on the resume. The Rams' offensive line is probably going to suck. A lot of his perceived value is just, okay, he's the only guy in a crappy rushing offense, and he's shown some flashes. It's not worth a first-round pick.
No, agreed. Now, I did pull up recent trades involving Cam Akers, and it's, let me tell you, all over the place. Cam Akers for Dallas Goedert, straight up. That was one of the trades. Then you got Cam Akers and 310 for 203 and 301. You have Cam Akers and Michael Thomas for 212 in this year's draft. Cam Akers in a second for Tony Pollard, the 2024 second, that is. Cam Akers. Now, see, this one's not super flex. I don't think so. I'm not going to use that one. Cam Akers for a 2024 second and a 2025 second. Cam Akers and Daniel Jones for Russell Wilson in a 2023 first. Cam Akers for Miles Sanders in a 2024 third.
Akers had more. Okay.
Yeah, Cam Akers in a 2024 third for Rashad Bateman. So I'm talking, like, he is all over the place in terms of what Cam Akers is getting traded for.
I mean, he's at least a high second, generally speaking.
That's what it looks like.
So yeah, you can get that. You can re-roll on an A-Chain, a Kendre Miller, a Charbonnet. You can get your first pick on whatever second round receiver you want. You can end up with a Will Levis. Like, there's plenty of players that you can move Cam Akers into. I really don't think he's a hard player to trade right now.
No. Terrace Marshall, on the other hand.
Terrace Marshall is tough because he's not great.
No, but he does have it's the same as kind of every year with Terrace Marshall. Like, he's got some kind of appeal with him where this Panthers wide receiving core is just suspect at best. Rookie quarterback in Bryce Young there. Maybe he could turn around for this team. Yada. But
you need some serious camp hype for him to really be like a tradable player. Right.
Yeah, when I was saying like attaching, I was thinking more so like with Terrace Marshall in mind, where like him individually would be really hard to trade. Or if I had him, I'm probably just holding, unless I'm doing like where I'm attaching him to a trade where there's other pieces that you're giving away or in one other piece. I'd probably just hold and just wait that there's some kind of good camp report and then just try to jump on that. And even then, maybe still have him just as an attached. Cam Akers, I agree, is kind of easier to sell. You could get like a second, but Terrace Marshall, selling individually, it's
Terrace Marshall's in the realm of Mecole Hardman and Van Jefferson and Zay Jones, and I'm trying to think of other guys, Tyquan Thornton, where there's like some appeal, but like until people see it. Yeah, exactly. They are just roster cloggers. Like the chances of those guys breaking out are so slim, I think, that it is kind of, I don't know. This is more of a roster. Yeah, it's more of a roster construction question, I guess. Like, at what point is it worth just cutting bait for whatever you could get for these guys? Because obviously they still are worth something. Like, Mecole Hardman just isn't on waivers. Like, he's available.
Yeah.
He's someone that gets traded for, as I'm pulling it up right here. A third. Looks like he's in the realm of a third.
Yeah, you'd be lucky to get a third.
3/4 I'm seeing. Yeah, I don't know. I think something I'm going to have to start buying into more is knowing when to cut bait with players. I mean, in Terrace Marshall, that answer was probably 2 years ago before he touched the field. Um, but when they're bad and you can still get some kind of value for them and just re-roll into something else, I think that is the time now where I'm going to be doing that a lot more with players. Although I'm going to be kind of hypocritical when we get into this over-unders, because there are some players I think are worth a roster spot that are currently worth very little on Keep Trade Cut.
Yeah, it's interesting on what to do. One of the things I will say, though, and this may have happened with Terrace Marshall, is that when you have players that reach that third round type valuation, a lot of those players become really hard to trade when they're trending down assets, especially because you get into the mode where it's like, oh, I want a second for him because they were worth a second, right? So like Cole Kmet was probably another example. And he might still, apparently I keep track, he might still be worth a second. That astonishes me. But I digress.
Crazy.
He was a player that's like, okay, he's been worth a second round pick. He's been worth a second round pick. Oh, look, he's doing well. He's on a young offense, this, that, and the other. Now the Bears bring in a bunch of passing options. They bring in another tight end, and it's like, what do? I'm only going to sell him for a second round pick. I'm not going to sell him for a third. That's bullshit. That's, I think, where a lot of people fall into. And I think that a lot of people probably fell into that mindset for Terrace Marshall. It's like, when it was still time to sell him, it was like, why am I going to just sell him for a third? I'd rather keep him, let's say, midway through the rookie season to see if, like, he starts playing. You know?
Yeah.
So I think it is a little bit hindsight 2020, because what if you sold Christian Watson early? Right? There's another example of like a guy who wasn't really doing well, wasn't seeing the field. You sell him for peanuts on the dollar, and then all of a sudden he just gets on the field and starts working out.
Yeah, but for how many Christian Watsons are there? You know, the Terrace Marshalls, the Mecole Hardmans, the Sarah.
I think it's more important to sell out of players that actually have value that are overvalued than ones that have menial value. Losing on, like, Terrace Marshall was like, what, a mid-second round pick?
Yeah.
206.
It's a little bit annoying. Like, yeah, that's kind of in the range, but it's not the end of the world if you miss out on that. Missing out on your 106 and then holding into the ground there is way worse than missing out on a 206, because I can get another 206. That's not really hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jalen Reagor immediately came to mind there when you talk about like
That's
just holding.
Well, I mean, a guy that I got burned by was Zach Wilson, right? There was plenty of opportunities to sell Zach Wilson, and in some leagues I did burned because of it.
He's still somehow quarterback 38.
I don't know.
I feel still kind of high at this point, where he's just gone burnt into the ground.
Who's like the two QBs after him?
Sam Darnold and I don't know how this guy's so high, but Mike White.
Respect him. Mike White. I'd probably have Sam Darnold ahead of. Actually, I don't know.
I think they're just generally in the same tier right now.
Yeah, this is just the. I don't know. We'll get stuck into another San Francisco quarterback debate in a second.
Yeah,
I did listen to Sam Darnold on Part of My Take. He was actually kind of interesting. Fun fact.
So here's someone I do want to talk about, and that's DK Metcalf, because I have him in one of my leagues, and I just think that he's kind of a weird player. Maybe Tyreek Hill is kind of in a similar vein, where it's like these guys are so good, but DK Metcalf is starting to be in that point where like the veteran tag is being labeled on him, and you just can't get that wide receiver one price that you're really looking for with DK. Like, you can't command the same price that you can for T. Higgins. You know, you can't command the same price. I mean, Olave is probably worth
that much lower than T. Higgins.
I just think on average you would have a much easier time getting a wide receiver one, like a wide receiver 5 or 6 price for T Higgins than for DK.
Okay. That's fair. How old is DK now? He is
25.
25. That's still sweet. I'd still have DK over Higgins, but maybe that's a bold take. Because I do agree the perceived value is like Higgins is going to get you the better return.
Higgins is going like a round above DK in startups.
Right, and I agree. I think that they should basically be priced the same. I would price them about the same.
Yeah, it's crazy what perception. DK Metcalf is only 1 year older than T Higgins.
Well, yeah, the thing is, too, though, is I think that DK, the situation is worse, but I think that as a player, he's more likely to have a season where he just goes fucking nuclear than T Higgins. But T Higgins is in that, if Jamar Chase goes down, Joe Burrow is so nasty, he can feed T Higgins, and then...
Yeah. And then, like, JSN got added to Seattle. I mean, I get, like, why people would say that. It's just crazy. I think DK's become a little bit underrated, honestly.
Yeah, and that's the issue I have, is that I feel like DK, in any league that I have him, it's like, I can't sell him, because he's a dude that... I mean, one good season, he could be where A.J. Brown is right now in Dynasty ranks, or at least around there. And he goes out there and puts up 1,400 yards.
Would you like to hear some recent DK trades?
What was his stat line last season? Yeah, go for it.
Dude, 2020, he puts up 1,300 yards. What if he does that season again?
Yeah, okay, what did he do last year?
On only 129 targets.
Yeah,
he got 141 last year.
Okay, what was that? Oh, DK trades. So we have DK for, I wish it would say what the 2023 first was, but DK for 2023 first straight up. That happened like 4 or 5 times. There's a bunch of DKs straight up for 2023 first. Which one? Don't know.
It's probably either the Addison or the JSN pick. One of those two.
DK,
maybe the Gibbs pick.
I could see that. DK and 2024 second for Jerry Jeudy and 2024 first. DK and Zay Flowers for CD Lamb. That's a little too many pieces for my liking. DK and a first for Olave and a 2025 second. And then if you really want to just break DK up, DK for Austin Eckler, Dalvin Cook, and Irv Smith Jr. Those are the recent trades involving DK.
Well, the one that sparked my interest was that Jeudy in a first for DK in a second.
That seems the most feasible, if you ask me.
Like, is that the strat if you're selling DKs to just try a trade like that? Maybe with like Treylon.
If you're set on selling DK, I think so. And like, who are some of the receivers in like Judy's tier? Like, who's like another guy?
I would just go down that whole tier of receivers on Bulletproof. If you look, it's like somewhere between the end of the 5th and like mid 7, I think.
Yeah, okay. So
where it includes the likes of Ayuk, Dotson, Godwin, fucking Zay Flowers,
Calvin Ridley, Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, there's so many. Hollywood.
Yeah.
I mean, Jeudy, you could probably put in there. Christian Watson, he might be a little smidge above, but it really, like, Christian Watson's a weird one. DJ Moore. Like, I honestly might just try them all, right? Like, find the one, or more tactically speaking, find the one where the guy's team makes sense for you to do that, right? Play a little fucking...
Of the players that you were talking about, there was a DK trade for Treylon Burks and 2 2024 seconds.
Like, even something like that, I don't really know, though, because I kind of need depth in that league that I have him, but, it is DK, right? Like, I have some picks. I can sell picks for depth if I want to. But that's the other question, though, is that, like, is it worth to sell these picks to try and become a mid-level playoff team when I'm an average team, generally speaking?
I think it really depends on the player you're trading for. Because if it's someone like who's really on the younger side, like I don't think that could usually ever go wrong if they're like a surefire, like so, like like okay, even if I don't become a contender right away, this is like a blue chip piece for a while, and you can always flip them again. So say like you're spending a lot to get like I don't know, like who's like a younger guy who's not like crazy high, like a Devontae Smith or someone like that. Because I feel like people like players like that, or even like a Jalen Waddle, but that's a little bit more pricey. I guess like I'll throw in like an Olave too. Because those, like, even if you end up not becoming a contender and then like if things go south, you'll be able to sell them in like whatever, maybe 2 years for a ton of value. I think it becomes risky when you're a middling team and you trade for like, let's just say in this instance, it's like a Tyreek Hill, where yeah, he's gonna go off, but like someone like him in 2 years, if it doesn't work out, you're gonna have lost a lot of value on that. So I'll pay up for like the guy who's younger in that situation. Otherwise, I'm probably holding. If that all makes sense, I hope I worded that well.
Yeah, I think it depends on the price though a little bit, because what if to get Devontae, the guy wants a first and like an early second, versus Tyreek Hill, you can just give him a random first, and that's the price difference. Like that could be a pretty significant gap. Where if you're just looking to be a contender,
Are you saying on top of DK, or are you just saying?
No, I'm just saying in general. I'm just saying in
Okay.
general. Because like, okay, so here's the conundrum I'm in. Is that I have a good roster. It's not insane. I have good players. Like I have Mahomes, Chubb, Aaron Jones, DK, Deontay, Kyle Pitts in a 2 tight end league, Kamara, Penny, Dotson, but like no bench. I have a handful of running backs that might play. Receivers are kind of mid. Tight ends are mid, and like no quarterbacks. I have some picks next year. I have all firsts, right? Like multiple seconds, thirds. It's not a ton, but it's like in a perfect world, I would move just for 3 players, 3 trades straight up, right? A second for a player, a second for a player, a first for a player. But is that actually worth doing? Or is it more worth to try and break up some of the higher tier assets for more depth and then keeping the draft picks to refill and hopefully snowball and get better even the next season?
See, I think your team there is in an interesting position because you have a couple guys that it's like they're in their prime like right now. Like when you say like Nick Chubb,
right?
Aaron Jones, where I think in your situation, I think it makes a little bit more sense to maybe go for like and shoot high for like a Tyreek Hill, or I don't know, another vet receiver who I think is like a nice buy right now if you're trying to like compete next year is Cooper Kupp. I feel like his value is kind of dropped to the point where he's almost like underrated if you're trying to win right now. And he's someone who can end up like a top 5 receiver that you can maybe get for like.
I did buy him in one of my leagues. It was 110 and my second next year for Cooper Kupp.
I think that's like a great, because I think there's, if he stays healthy, I think, I don't want to say like 1,000% lock, but I bet a lot of money that he finishes top 10 with a possibility of top 5.
Yeah, I mean, he's just so nasty. It's like I'm willing to pay that for the upside.
Yeah. So I think
pretty cheap for Cooper Kupp.
But that's why I was thinking, like, what if I broke down DK Metcalf, got more draft capital, and still had a receiver, and then I had a more, because like I don't want to just full sell all the picks next year, because I still do have a nice core, regardless of the running backs, who I don't think they'll all disappear next year. I think they'll still be usable. But like Mahomes, Pitts, as of right now, DK, Jahan Dotson, like these are pretty decent players to build around.
Very decent.
And to have a team around.
Well, Mahomes and Pitts, definitely. The thing is, if you are going to sell DK, I think I would just sell Nick Chubb too. He has gone down a little bit, like he's RB13 at this point. But I mean, if the idea of selling DK is to go into picks and everything, and you're not competing, you're kind of just holding the bag then with Nick Chubb and just having him get another year older.
No, it's not that
That's
I'm not.
true.
I wouldn't be competing. I would want to do a trade like that, going into just tearing down from DK into a Judy, upgrading a
Okay.
second into a first. I'll even go lower than a Judy. Let's say it was like Christian Kirk, and then moving. Then I'd have an excuse. I feel like to move that second or a first for another player.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just interested in
Or is it worth just move everything, right? Do that strat I was saying earlier. Just move a first and 2 seconds and maybe even a third. Just get 4 players in straight up deal.
hold on. This is crazy to me. Apparently, Hollywood Brown plus a down the road first, like a 2025 or 2026, which people are now already trading. Hollywood Brown plus that first is pretty common for DK Metcalf. I'm looking at trades that have happened recently. Hollywood Brown in 2024 second for DK is all on the table. So it's somewhere in that, you're in that late first, early second range of Hollywood plus a first for DK. I would do something like that.
If you
I
could
would
pull that
then,
off, yeah.
yeah. Let's just say it's a second. Let's say for whatever reason the first is unrealistic. Guy who has Hollywood doesn't want to move off of him. Yeah. Let's say it's a second. I would then take Nick Chubb. Right? I don't know if I could pull up simultaneous trades here / also trades with picks. But I would package Nick Chubb plus that kind of pick to then just get yourself into a more elite / more stable fantasy output. So like Nick Chubb's running back 13, I think I said. If I can move up into you like Josh Jacobs. You probably could get even higher than Josh Jacobs though.
See, I just love Nick Chubb though, dude. Nick Chubb is
I know you love Nick Chubb, but the problem is like at this point he can have a stellar year and he's still going to be going down. Like we've hit the wall for Nick Chubb. It's kind of like Dalvin Cook didn't have a great year, but he plummeted a crazy amount. I'm trying to think of someone who had a good year, who's older, who just didn't fall off a cliff. Austin Eckler, I guess, but even Austin Eckler has dropped out of the top 5.
But see, so my other argument though is for this team, once again, should I just start selling all these picks for players and not just like go super old, but just 1-for-1 good value young player?
I would rather not just trade your picks for players. I'd rather hold on to the picks, and just try and use players to make these trades happen. But like with your case where you don't have a lot of depth, and you are looking,
I can sell Kyle Pitts or Mahomes and create a shit ton of depth. But yeah, that's the problem is that I don't want to sell those guys. On my team.
Yeah, they're retiring on my team.
Yeah.
I kind of am a fraud because I traded you Mahomes in our home league, but Kyle Pitts is retiring on my team. I'm just gonna go down with that ship.
Because the thing is with this team, like I need a QB. I need one QB, which I'm thinking I could do like a second for a Tannehill or a Stafford or someone if I really needed to. And then I need like one receiver, and I'm basically a playoff level team.
Well, all right. I mean, that kind of just solves your problem right there. Is just DK for Hollywood in a second. You can trade. I don't even know if Stafford's worth a second at this point, but you could get a equal kind of quarterback for that second. / you might even be able to get that first for Hollywood. Like I don't know. I've seen a decent amount of trades where Hollywood plus a first was going for DK more so than Hollywood plus a second. Now, if we're talking about that kind of equivalent quarterback, that's where the problem lies. Is like I don't like most of the quarterbacks in that range. The only one that I'd even like remotely consider is
that are worth like a late first.
Late first, early second.
That's easy. It's either you're going. To me, you're either going Kenny Pickett or you're going like Derek Carr, and you're probably going to be underwhelmed in either scenario.
Yeah, I don't want. No, I think in my case.
Let me see. I mean, here there's like a Jared Goff. I'd rather Jared Goff than Derek Carr.
Yeah, Jared Goff is just like what you're getting. Like you're getting 16 points a game. Maybe.
Yeah,
Like it's not exciting. It's not going to win you weeks.
Yeah, and listen, I don't love Kenny Pickett, but he's got more upside than basically anyone else around him.
Kenny Pickett's there. Well, the guy is Trey Lance. If he
that's it. Trey Lance fits the bill as well. Like I think he's a fine buy at his price right now, given the upside. Like they can in 1 month of football double their value. Like
I saw it
realistically.
I think it was the Dynasty Reddit. Someone was like, "Yeah, some guy offered me 206 for Trey Lance." I was like someone offered me Trey Lance for 206, as in he was trading away the 206, and he was like, "No, I'm not giving up that much for Trey Lance." I'm like, "What? Well, how's everything changed that much?" But yeah, Trey Lance, the one that I have no idea what he's going to do this year with Russell Wilson. If he bounces back, he could find himself back close to that. Like, he'd probably be going in around the 6th round, 5th round if he manages to bounce his way back. He's currently going in the 7th. There's not much else because otherwise it's just like not good quarterbacks or like not exciting quarterbacks. Like, you're getting 15, 16 points per game. They're probably going to have 2 or 3 years in the league of like you feel comfortable about, but after that, it's going to be big question marks. The likes of the Mac Jones, the Will Levis, Brock Purdy, Jordan Love, those guys, it's just, I don't want them. I don't want those guys. I'm not trading for them. Picking Will Levis in a startup is different. I mean, in a rookie draft is different though, because he's just cheaper there. But yeah, you guys have anything else you want to add?
No,
not really. Let's get to the over-unders.
Okay.
This first one's going to be interesting.
Yeah. We're kicking off with the NFC North. So, Lounis, you missed last week with the NFC South.
Yes.
I believe we covered.
Or 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Yeah, sorry. Because of we did not have an episode on the 4th of July. If I remember, we did look at last year's NFC South, right, Frank?
No, we did not.
Oh, we didn't look at last year's NFC South? All right.
Oh no, yeah, we looked at last year's NFC South. Yes, let's look at last year's NFC North. Sorry, I got confused.
Yeah.
For NFC North.
It's one of my favorite segments.
The breaking down of the yeah. Well, it's funny. It's funny looking back on it. So last year we did this on June 21st, 2022.
I want to see some of them.
Frank had a big fat overrated on Justin Fields. A little spoiler alert.
Yeah, I'm showing it on the screen. And it's funny because I may put a U next to him this episode.
I think I might flip and put no. We're about to break them down real quick.
Wait. Okay, never mind. I'll wait to say my thing on Justin.
You did have a big fat O on Jordan.
I will say, dude, big dub for all of us. We all had underrated on Jared Goff.
Yeah, I mean, quarterback 30 for a guy who's going to be the starting quarterback.
We need to delete the NFC stat. It's just I'm looking at it.
We all had it overvalued on Aaron Rodgers, which I feel like was a relatively. Oh, never mind. Sorry, Jake didn't.
No, I know we're not doing this. We all had Kenny Galladay as underrated last year.
I know. I brought that up before we went on the episode. Yeah, that
is overrated.
No, the NFC East is going to be tough to break down.
It's bad.
Yeah, Jordan Love we all had overrated, which is rough. Kirk Cousins, fine, he's the same. I had a solid underrated on Kellen Mond.
Tough one. Yeah, I said DeAndre Swift was underrated at running back 3 as we move on to our running backs. Not great currently.
Hey, I'm gonna pat myself on the back with having underrated on both the Chicago running backs, and even though David Montgomery's value is a little bit down from where it was last year, I feel like you're still fine if you have him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we saw last year how it's gonna be a split backfield and he's gonna get the goal line.
Hey JT, you at least also because you were the only one with underrated on DeAndre Swift. It's a little bit of an L, but you did have the underrated on Jamal Williams though.
Yeah,
who came in and was a beast.
Yeah, running back 64 did feel too far off. Of course, naturally, Jake had Dalvin Cook as underrated at RB10.
I feel like we
he's now,
all kind of smashed
running
the
back
bait of AJ Dillon.
Yeah. RB 18 last year. That's crazy.
And we also took an L on Madison, though.
We don't say underrated for Aaron Jones, but like he's lower now than RB20, but like he had a good season.
Yeah,
that's where it gets tough with these.
We considered Mike Evans kind of a low key win because if you held him, he probably helped you in like a championship run. Even though his value went down. Yeah,
because I was gonna say like in Aaron Jones' case, like correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't he finish like as a low end RB1, or if not, like one of the top 2 RB2s or something?
Yeah, he had a good season.
But like now on Keep Check Hut, he's like RB24. It's just like
Look at that disgusting U I had on Cole Kmet.
The tight ends. Jake had a rough go of these tight ends.
All this knew it with Irv Smith. He didn't fool.
Yeah, Irv Smith 13. All right. Where are we looking now? Wide receivers.
Wide receivers. Yikes! With my U on Darnell Mooney.
I was never a Darnell Mooney guy. Lounis on the underrated with Felix Jones.
Yeah, Amon-Ra, all of us with overrated at wide receiver 30.
He's like wide receiver 7 now or something like that.
That's so brutal.
Yikes.
Christian Watson, wide receiver 38.
Lounis had an underrated on Jameson Williams at wide receiver 19. He went and didn't play for the year. Oh, never mind. I thought he actually went up. He went and played for the year, then got suspended this year, and I thought he was still
like 25.
But he's wide receiver 27. Yeah, I thought he went up.
Not a full L yet.
No, definitely not.
My U on Adam Thielen.
We're all there with you.
Brutal.
Who's above Justin Jefferson? Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase,
yeah. I mean, what's hilarious is that Justin Jefferson was unironically a really good buy last year. Even if you paid the astronomical price tag, he probably went up.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get to this year.
Yeah.
All right. We're in the quarterback. So I already feel like we're going to be dissenting here.
I don't know. This is tough for me because the thing is with Justin Fields,
it's not a confident you.
It's not a confident you. It's not a confident you. But given it what he showed on the field and what his talent level is, like I just think that he's a case of like, okay, it's kind of worked. And the thing that he struggles with is just a lot of the easy stuff. And someone like Daniel Jones really put that together this year. Right? I think that Justin Fields got acclimated even faster than Daniel Jones. He just needs to clean some shit up, and he can really be torching people. Like, it's more so at that late first valuation that you're getting him in startups. I actually think that Justin Fields is a really good buy.
So here's my thing with Justin Fields. And by the way, he's actually, like, I'm rooting for him to prove me wrong with the overrated because he's actually, like, someone who I find super excited. Obviously, everyone finds him super excited to watch, but I want him to be a successful quarterback. It's just, if you look at the quarterbacks ahead of him, the 7 ahead of him, I can't see any scenario where he surpasses one of them, and I see multiple guys after him that I could see kicking him out of the top 10 down to, like, all these rookies. You got Kyler, like Dak, like, and he needs to improve a lot as a passer also because the Bears have the Panthers pick and their own first-round pick next year. Like, if he doesn't start winning games and looking good, that's potentially 2 top 10 picks. They're going to be, like, in the Caleb conversation and Drake May conversation. And they passed on Bryce Young this year. They gave him a weapon. But if he doesn't, like, if you have Justin Fields, you're kind of hoping for – I don't think you can expect nearly, like, as big a leap as, like, he's kind of in a similar situation as Jalen Hurts was after his season starting. But even then, like, I think Jalen Hurts was a little bit better as a passer. Like, he led the Eagles to the wild card round. You're hoping for that kind of jump because if he does improve, he becomes automatically like a fucking beast in fantasy because of his rushing upside. But that alone isn't getting. It's just him keeping his starting job. That's what worries me because they're gonna probably have 2 good draft picks.
Dude, you're crazy.
What about that was crazy?
I think that they've kind of made that determination this year. If you're worried about the draft
they
picks,
would've
dude,
went
they
with
just
Bryce
had
Young.
they just had number
Yeah, but
one.
no,
Like,
they gave him weapons, and if he's not good this year, they're gonna have 2 top 10 picks next year. And a draft class. With
yeah, you're right. If he
Caleb, Drake
really
May, and
shits
any
the
other
bed,
quarterback.
yeah, if he really shits the bed.
Like, he is to keep that pick like out of the top 10, and then never mind the Panthers pick where they have their own rookie quarterback situation. It's I don't know. That's what like I said, I'm rooting for him. Especially, I think I have him in one of the side leagues, but I don't know. It's just because they're especially like the recorded like right now on. I know it's just keep check cut, but give me 1 sec. Let me pull it up. Like value wise, he's like equivalent to like forget quarterbacks, like Garrett Wilson. He's ahead of AJ Brown, Jalen Waddle. But then it's like you look at some of the quarterbacks after him. You have all the rookie quarterbacks. So that's Stroud, that's Bryce Young, that's Richardson.
Yeah, and you're gonna have Kyler, and you're gonna have Dak.
Kyler, Dak. Like,
Lounis, I agree with you. I'm not going to take Justin Fields necessarily 1-for-1 over Kyler. I'd rather have Kyler. Right? I think if you think that Bryce Young is better than Justin Fields, go ahead and tear down into whatever rookie quarterback you want. CJ Stroud, fine. I think that's a fine move too. But the fact of the matter is that I am not really worried about Justin Fields being replaced by a draft pick next year in like any stretch. The only thing I'm worried about is him not being elite. And to me, the way that he's not an elite fantasy football player is simply if his passing really sucks. If he's like a Marcus Mariota. If he gets to the level that the average passer in the league is in the NFL, he is a dominant fantasy weapon. Like,
I agree.
Like Lamar is kind of that right now. He's a good passer and he's cooking.
But are we saying that Justin Fields keeps that same rushing? Because I'm
not worried about him keeping his like a good rushing. Maybe he's not going to have as many like 70-yard touchdowns, but he's going to have a lot of rushing production. I'm sure whenever he starts, he's going to be like good in fantasy. It's just my only concern with him is his long-term status as a starter, and he just needs to. Frank, you're right. He just needs to become like a league average passer. And then
just give me like 3,800 yards, 3,900 yards passing, and you're a QB1 easily. Like, not only you're a high-end QB1. Because like, you can dock down Justin Fields' rushing numbers by like 20%, and you're still chilling. He's still an elite rushing category.
True. I just, for where he's at, what he's essentially a first round startup pick. It's just too high for me for Justin Fields. I'd rather.
It's interesting. Like I said, he's in the exact same like with startups. Jalen Hurts and Justin Fields are kind of in the same ADP as each like a year prior to Jalen Hurts' season this year.
I just feel wrong putting an O there because I think he's in a fine spot.
No, I mean,
right?
stick with it. Like, because I mean, if you're right, you'll be able to talk shit on it.
Well, it's just like, yeah, I agree with you. Kyler Murray, I'd rather have over Justin Fields, but just because Kyler Murray's ranked behind Justin Fields, I don't think that means I'm going to put an O.
No,
on
like
Justin
if
Fields
it's just like one, yeah, obviously not. No, I'm with you on that.
There's at least 5 players I'm looking at that I think.
So we all believe that the Lions quarterback is probably not on their team in the long term.
Yeah, well, even if it is Jared Goff, like you're paying kind of top, like you're paying Kirk Cousins prices for, like previous Kirk Cousins prices for a guy who's just going to give you slightly less points than Kirk Cousins has. So it's just kind of a wash. Like I'd rather just spend it elsewhere. There's way more guys I'd rather have than Jared Goff at that price point.
Some of these are tough because some of these ratings. I'm sorry, I'm like looking ahead. Some of them, I'm like, that's fair.
Right, with Jared Goff, this is the peak of Jared Goff. Everything's sunshiny, everything's rosy. This almost feels like he's about to go on his own little Carson Wentz arc, and it's like you thought he's good again.
Bold, but maybe. I mean, the only other thing that like Hendon Hooker is going to be out for, I think, most of, if not the whole year. So he's not really a threat right now. He's also quarterback 33, though, 25-year-old rookie quarterback. I'm not.
So what's interesting is that at this price, I want to put a U. Because this is assuming he's almost like a super early third. I would draft him in the super early third of drafts. Problem is that I feel like most of my drafts, I saw him sneaking into the late second, so I just wasn't willing to really draft
late
him.
second is kind of great. Even early third, I don't know. I would rather just like throw a dart and just take a lottery ticket on a running back or receiver that I liked.
I think there are some running backs that will usually go around the very early third that I would take over Hendon Hooker as well.
Yeah.
Like it's usually, I mean, a guy that we're going to get into, like a Roschon Johnson, I've seen fall to the very early third, very late second, right around Hendon Hooker. I think that just, there's just more realistic hitting chances than taking Hendon Hooker. So I think in drafts overvalued. For this valuation, I think it's fine given the upside.
He's going to be like 26 before like...
I don't really care about that though. Am I wrong? Am I wrong there?
No, but I just think like we're getting a worse version of Jordan Love where we're going to have to sit and wait, and I'm not convinced he's going to ever get the starting opportunity like we're about to see with Jordan Love.
I see Hooker as end up kind of being a career backup.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's get into these running backs. So, man, Roschon Johnson's such a tough one. Because I really like Roschon Johnson.
Roschon Johnson being the most valued running back out of the three kind of surprises me.
I might just put a U on all of them. Fuck it. Yeah, I think Roschon Johnson's really close to being overvalued, but he's not quite there.
Yeah.
I think he is.
I think you can make the argument that's pretty fair value. I think what might be like leading me to say overvalued for him is because I think guys like Herbert should be valued higher, and then like Foreman's like 20 spots beneath him. Yeah, no, that's tough.
Well, yeah, I agree with you because, and now this is making me want to put the O, is that you can make it a very, taking off your dynasty goggles, you can make a really clear argument that Roschon Johnson is the third best running back on this roster right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like by a decent margin, right? I like Roschon Johnson. I think he has some nice potential, but if the Bears are going to ask Roschon Johnson to really read the leverage of his blockers, and they're not going to be well aligned up front, well blocked up front, he could really struggle with his transition to the league. And then just be kind of relegated to only getting a handful of carries here and there, just as a bruiser.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Put the O. Fuck it. I regret that.
I think like any of these, someone from this backfield though is going to get a nice rise in value just simply from being the main guy.
Can we just have an F? Can we have like a that's fair?
Dude, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to put earlier.
No finish. Nope. We're not keeping our feet in both boats here. We're either over or we're under. Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm going over.
I'm sorry I have to do this to my guy Jahmyr Gibbs. I still think he's a top 10 dynasty back, but 5 is. I'm not going to go under. I don't think he gets like.
Yeah. All right. Lounis, if you are with us, the entire Lions backfield might be overrated.
Wait, did I lag out? Oh, I thought you said like am I?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, on the sheet.
I agree with the rest. The only one I'm like Montgomery. Actually, yeah, because I think it's going to be Gibbs' backfield.
Yeah, I think Montgomery's fine.
Like he's someone I'd want to put just like an F, like fair, but. Oh, did I put a U?
I mean, once again, Montgomery, you're reaching like this James Conner type of argument where it's like if you buy James Conner and he finishes like RB18 on the year, was that, and then all of a sudden is like now at a James Conner kind of late secondy type of price?
I want to pull up like who's he around. Like right now, like Montgomery's behind guys like Madison and Rachaad White. But so is like Aaron Jones.
Well, yeah, and I can make the argument if you bought Aaron Jones last year, you're probably pretty happy because he's generally speaking the same price.
Every year he has a good season and his value just goes down. It's funny. So that's why, like, I have him. I'm just gonna let him retire on my roster. Yeah, I'll stick with you. Why not?
All right, you're the only
Aaron Jones.
only one in there.
I think Montgomery's fine. Like he's
I
good
agree,
if you have him.
but-
I'm just not gonna buy him right now if I don't. Jahmyr
Yes.
Gibbs, I think it's easy to put the O just because like he just has to be good to more for
Yeah.
like a long term. I think next year he's almost guaranteed to still be in the top 10, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to ascend higher.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I might put the U on him
I'm now kind of
because I feel like he's just
Yeah, I
going to go
almost just put
up.
the U on
Yeah,
him.
I'm going to put the fucking U on him.
Okay, I'm with you. No, I think he's in terms of like I think he's gonna end up still being or generally a top 7 guy. Like Jahmyr Gibbs is someone if we could put the F for fair, I would. But so when I pull this back up, right, I'm gonna pull up the generally who he's around and the running backs that are in that range. Give me one sec.
Bijan's the only young one.
So,
I guess
do you know-
Jonathan Taylor. Bijan and Jonathan Taylor and Breece Hall. Those are the 3 above him that I think.
And then it's Saquon.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, it's just
He's not
Etienne,
really-
Kenneth Walker. Actually, you're probably right.
Running back's in a weird spot now
Yeah,
because the old guard is starting to fade out,
you guys
and
have
there's
convinced
not
me.
really been a new guard to come in other
Yeah,
than
you guys have convinced me. I'm in.
Yeah. Looking at the Packers, Frank, you're flip flopped on it. Do you think this is the year AJ Dillon takes over?
might
I
just lean on the
honestly
run
just
game a
think
lot.
that at this point next year, we might be starting to seriously consider the AJ Dillon taking over. Not that it necessarily happens next year, but I do think this is going to be a more run first team. And I think that could help Aaron Jones as well. But yeah, I think that this is actually the year to potentially sell Aaron Jones if you can. I'm thinking about it in my league, but I might actually go more the contender route, that league I was talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, AJ Dillon to me has the same outlook he did last year, but everyone else was way more optimistic that he was just going to be the RB1 out of nowhere. Right? Like,
Yeah.
we've kind of seen, and you could point to Tony Pollard as a great example, as a recent example, but it's happened with some really talented running backs in the past. Dude, sometimes there's just someone else good in front of you. And running back is one of the easiest positions in football for an average guy to look way better than he is.
Oh yeah.
Like we saw fucking Dion Lewis playing over Henry for a hot minute. It's like, you know,
Yeah.
and I think that Aaron Jones is legitimately better than AJ Dillon right now. But you know, you let AJ Dillon develop a little bit. He's kind of been a developmental guy. I do think that he could really boom this year.
I've just never been.
I think the case you have for AJ Dillon is with Jordan Love. They're probably going to lean into the run game more. Where like AJ Dillon's going to get more touches per game this year than last year. But I mean, I could see you being right pretty easy. I don't feel confident in my overrated for him.
I just like him now. I felt like AJ Dillon was. I've always wanted to get in on AJ Dillon, but always looked at his price tag like, okay, that's just absurd.
Mhm.
Now is the one time I've seen. I'm like, whoa, that's not absurd for AJ Dillon.
That's fair. No, I'm with you.
I'm still sticking with overrated, but yeah, I don't
Because
disagree
dude,
with
he's
the logic.
really not that far ahead of a guy like Roshan Johnson.
Yeah, well, it's kind of similar circumstances, no? Like a cloudy backfield, question marks on like how talented this player actually is. Interesting situation. I don't know. I feel like they are. The only thing is AJ Dillon at least has done it a little bit, but Roshan Johnson's younger, so
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. All right, let's move on to. We all think that Madison is overrated.
Yeah, and therefore, I'm just not
you guys
convinced.
think he's overrated enough.
You got the bull though. The thing is, I think we're all pretty confident he's not the workhorse back for this Minnesota offense. I don't think they're going to have one. Yeah, but the thing is, I think to win on this, you just get everyone else on this team, because I think maybe one of those other players bounces out and it actually becomes worth something, but it's not Alexander Madison.
That's funny because I think that they're just going to pick up one of these veteran running backs, whether that's a Leonard Fournette, a Zeke,
a Dalvin Cook,
but just for cheap. Kareem Hunt. I do think at some point they're going to end up signing one of those guys, whether it's in training camp or even midway through the season.
They could.
I also, I don't know. I put a U just next to the guys that I like. I think that Dwayne McBride and Keenan Nwangwu show potential, and I think the other guys aren't really that great.
What was I going to say? This team, though, the Vikings are very analytically driven. So that's, I think, the one knock about them potentially going out and getting a Leonard Fournette, a Zeke, whoever, just because I don't think that's really in their philosophy and what they've been doing.
If you're getting them for a good deal, like a 1-year deal, I think that's where it does align, though.
All right, let's move along, though, to the tight ends. Cole Kmet, still somehow tight end 16. Still overrated.
Yeah.
Robert Tonyan, though? Okay, yeah, we'll stick on Cole
tight end 54 is crazy.
All right, never mind. We'll go to Robert Tonyan. Yeah, what a fall from grace, because I think we just were looking at the NFC North breakdown a little while ago, and Robert Tonyan was tight end 25. He's just completely plummeted.
54,
he's worth a roster spot, and tight end 54 is saying you're not worth a roster spot.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
And with Cole Kmet, the fact of the matter is that he's a player right now that I would have already mass offered for a second. I'm not sure he's in that range. According to this Keep Trade Cut price, he is in that potentially contender future second range.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be an easy O for me. Sam Laporta, though, he's
getting a nice U for me. He's getting a U.
I'm going to agree with you just because I really don't see him going down.
Yeah, I'm less worried about the tight end 9. The 3,500, I feel like it's a good price for him. He's athletic. He has really good draft capital, better than I expected. Look, I mean, this team also, it's Amon-Ra, and then you got Jameson Williams out for, I think, half the year, 6 games. I forget how long he's out for. There's not going to be a lot of targets. That being said, it takes a little while for tight ends to get their feet under them. But if Sam Laporta starts getting on the field, I feel like tight end 9's fair. I just like James Mitchell.
Right. The thing with Laporta that I have is that I don't think he's necessarily going to be a world beater, barring that Lions offense is really fucking nasty again. Mm-hmm. But I feel like he could easily kind of do what someone like Dulcich was doing last season, but maybe even more consistently. And now he ends up being decent.
Now this is biased, right? Because what I'm about to say, Sam Laporta, if I'm remembering correctly, was an Iowa Hawkeye. George Kittle was also an Iowa Hawkeye. But they just had tight end U recently. Him and Travis Kelce do it every year. I think Greg Olson's with them too. They invite all the tight ends. They work out. They run routes. I don't know. It's just kind of a cool thing that they all do. George Kittle was saying Sam Laporta looks the best out of any of these new tight ends. That could just be completely biased though, because it is just an Iowa guy hyping up an Iowa guy. But I'm just gonna buy into it and believe it and kind of just willfully ignore it and just use it to confirm my priors. The only other players I think we have disagreement on as I'm looking, Frank, you say TJ Hawkinson's underrated.
Yeah, I like TJ Hawkinson.
Fair enough. Now it's talking tight ends.
Well, it's I don't know, like
His value is already like pretty high for me though. Like if I had to lean it going in one direction.
right, but is it though? Because okay, the tight end 4, yeah, it looks high, but you look at that 47.11 keep trade cut price. That's really not that high in the grand scheme of things, right? Like I can pay. It's like a wide receiver 2 type of price, and I can get someone who's potentially in the elite tight end tier. In tight end premium, I think that's extremely favorable. I really doubt that many people who have TJ Hawkinson are considering selling for that low.
Yeah, to that extent, I agree. I don't know how to feel about Addison coming into this team and what he's going to do. And where TJ Hawkinson lies in this target share. I mean, obviously, Adam Thielen was there, but kind of got pushed to the side in his older age. So with Adam Thielen leaving, I guess there is vacated targets. But I think Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson are going to be fighting for that second target share role on this team. And if that's happening, I just don't think it's enough for TJ Hawkinson to really be all that great. Now, that being said,
the reason I disagree though is that in this tight end premium environment, as long as you have a tight end that's getting over 100 targets, which I think TJ Hawkinson will get, I think he'll get over 100 targets. That's really all I need, especially if you're getting these higher conversion rate targets, right? So he's getting a lot more receptions on those targets, right? I'm not necessarily buying Hawkinson at this price to be Kelsey. I'm being him to be my George Kittle. Have a couple of weeks where he goes nuclear and, generally speaking, catch 4 balls a game. That tight end premium will just add up. It's a high floor play. I don't think Addison, even if he does pan out, it's like then at that point to me this Vikings offense just becomes elite. Because you can use the same argument against Kittle. Oh, like you have Ayuk, you have Debo, you have Kittle, you have McCaffrey. It's like, yeah, he's not going to be Travis Kelce, but he can still be pretty fucking good and put up like 200 to 220 fantasy points.
Fair enough.
I rest my case.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he's like super overrated, TJ Hawkinson, because honestly, I don't know who's jumping him. And the player, he is at that weird value where he's like the end of the 4th round in startups. And it's just kind of a gross area. So TJ Hawkinson might be who I want there. But
well, see, what's funny is that price is way higher than the keep trade cut listed price.
Really? The end of the 4th is way higher than 47.11? Because what's like Josh Jacobs? What's he on keep trade cut?
Yeah,
Josh Jacobs
basically around there.
The 47.11
I guess it's right around there.
Jordan Addison's around there. Jordan Addison's 47.89. So like around that area.
Jordan Addison is going 506 in startups.
It was probably 5th round, first half 5th round.
Yeah, so there's kind of where I have the discrepancy is that Hawkinson will go above an Addison, but then if you were to ever sell Hawkinson, you're not really getting the Addison price. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. All right, let's move on to wide receivers. DJ Moore. I'll kick it off with DJ Moore. The thing about DJ Moore is he's just perennially good. He's never great. But I think
my thing with the I think it's fair. I just had to pick one.
Okay. Yeah, but where I was going with DJ Moore is just like, if people truly do think Justin Fields is going to take a jump and be like a good passing quarterback, then I think you have to have a U next to DJ Moore, because that would be his best passing quarterback that he's had. Change of scenery, yada. I don't necessarily subscribe to that idea, but I kind of just still like DJ Moore because I think he's just always underrated. Darnell Mooney, you guys both have to use on him. I just think he had his chance last year. I know they didn't throw the ball a whole lot, but
that was not a good passing.
So one thing I'll say is that I think that what this offense is really set up for being nice down the field. Justin Fields' deep ball is really good. He can throw it on the run. They should have a decent running attack. So DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, even Claypool, like these are really nice vertically inclined receivers. So that's kind of where I'm seeing that this could be a pretty. It's an offense that has potential. Yeah, it's more likely that they go back to being run merchants, and all these guys have like meddling finishes. But we've seen that with DJ Moore, him finish as like somewhere in that wide receiver 17 to wide receiver 25 range, being on a crappy offense. I like to believe that they've went towards passing the ball down the field.
I have something outlandish that I'd like to say.
Go off, buddy.
But are we done with the Bears?
Yeah, I just kind of like Mooney. I don't even know if like this is a great.
I guess for me, it's hard to judge the production on last season because that just wasn't a consistent passing offense at all. Like Justin Fields had games like under 100 passing yards, and then he'd have like 160 rushing. Like it was weird to evaluate. It was weird to evaluate a receiver, and I just feel like I know he's talented, and wide receiver 60 seemed a little bit low, so that's why I lean underrated.
Okay, you guys ready? This buckle up because what I'm about to say is kind of insane. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown can hit the Triple Crown this year in football. Like lead the league in receptions, yards, touchdowns. I think Amon-Ra. I told you it was Atlantish. I hope you buckled up.
You're out of your mind.
Because look, he was like 8th last year in targets for the Lions, right? This is a team that's gotten better. I think we all agree this is a team that's gotten better. His competition for targets, Jameson Williams, is like the main guy. He's out. I still am not buying fully into Jameson Williams.
It's only out 6 games. Less than half the season.
Yeah, but I if anything, I think that might just help with the compliment. But
I mean, don't get me wrong.
I'm not considering him a factor.
Even the ideal scenario, Jameson Williams, I think in terms of
they're different players too.
Targets, Amon-Ra is always going to get more. Jameson's always going to kind of be like you're banking on deep passes. Okay.
Amon-Ra also, he was, I believe, 8th last year in targets, but he got hurt in the New England game. He only played 17% of snaps in the Dallas game in Week 7, only 70% in the Chicago game, and he completely missed the Seattle game. So that's 3 games that he was like basically out for, and then 1 game where he was out for a good chunk of it. I think he can lead all of them. And now the problem is like his competition, like Justin Jefferson's obviously still great. He's in this division. I mean, he does have Jordan Addison there. Who knows how that shakeup's going to be? And TJ Hawkinson, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins together. Tyreek Hill, I feel like, is going to fall off. My only concern. So I think Amon-Ra has got a very good shot at targets and yards. It's the touchdowns where I get curious about it, but the way they've used him around the red zone, I found encouraging. They're willing to get him the ball in creative ways. I'm not sure how Jahmyr Gibbs is going to affect that if he's going to take that. That's my only concern. But I think he has I think of any of the receivers, I think the
Jahmyr Gibbs receiving threat is a valid concern.
Yeah, but I think it just helps this offense as a whole. Like I think I do
think that's going to ultimately help the touchdowns. The yards and the touch, I could see him like in your ideal scenario. Receptions is the thing I would feel best about. But man, like yards and touchdowns, like Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, like.
Yeah,
it was outlandish.
I'm just concerned that the Lions are going to kind of suck.
You think so?
Really?
After what happened last year?
I think they're going to be good this year.
Who have they lost, though, that's going to...
I think that division is
but the thing is,
you guys...
Here's the thing that you guys need to understand about the Lions.
The division got worse?
The Lions are Super Bowl champions and making you think they're going to be good. That's
Well,
what they do. The difference between the Lions.
I've never thought the Lions were going to be good. I've never thought the Lions were ever going to be good.
Last season was a big jump.
That's what you say every year. Every year, last season was a big jump for the Lions, and it's looking up. It's only up from here, right? It's every year.
Hold on. For example, like I'd be willing to bet on not making the playoffs in the NFC. I don't know if they're going to win the division over the Vikings, but if they don't, I think they're going to get one of the wild card spots. I don't think they'll be like they'll probably lose in the first round, but like so they're not going to be like insane, but they're going to be like I can see like a 10-7 season.
I'll take that bet on the Lions not making the playoffs.
Dude, the NFC is weak.
I wonder what
the NFC. You got Philly, San Francisco, and Dallas, and then.
Yeah, I just don't trust the Lions. I think that this is honestly a team that 1 or 2 injuries and they could just really fucking suck.
I mean, like if Jared Goff gets injured or something, yes.
Jared Goff can be fine. I don't think it's Jared Goff that is gonna be the issue.
I don't need them to be good. I just need Amon-Ra to get points out. But,
yeah, but no, I mean, like I know we're not talking fantasy, but like in the NFC, like who are the wild card teams going to be? One of them's going to be Dallas. Dallas, yeah. Then I guess Seattle.
See, this is where we differ. I'm more worried about the Lions, and you're more worried about everyone else, right? Like,
yeah, but it has to be someone.
I don't think that I think Jared Goff tricked us a little bit. I tricked us a little bit because that offensive line was good.
I mean, he tricked us a little bit, but I think he has better weapons now. He's going to have after 6 games. I mean, Amon-Ra another year.
I don't really think the weapons this year are any better than last year.
I think they're better. I think now that
Jahmyr Gibbs and Swift is kind of a wash. And then otherwise,
no, Gibbs is better than Swift.
I think all things considered, like, okay, maybe Amon-Ra is a little bit more developed, but I think the receiving car is worse right now than it was last year with the Jameson Williams suspension factored in.
For 6 games, but I think second-year Jameson Williams, mostly just that he should be fully healthy now off the ACL tear. I think that's a big boost.
The line for the Lions is 9.5 wins.
That sounds about right. I mean, my prediction was 10-7, and then the wild card spot. Sticking with it.
The Packers line is 7.5.
I'll take that under.
All right. That was my outlandish take. I still am not buying into Jameson Williams. I'm sorry, guys. It's whatever. I just think he's a burner more than anything.
I'll come out and say it. I'm not buying Jameson Williams. I'm a little too scared, but this is a fair price to get in on him at.
So I still have to trust my evaluation of his talent.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really a whole lot else you could go off.
Yeah, so, the 6 game sucks, but I mean, the last time we saw him fully healthy play, I thought he was the best receiver in college football. So I gotta stick with it. Or second best after Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, my problem with the Packers is Jordan Love is their quarterback. None of these guys are going to be good.
Yeah,
they're not good enough on their own to hold.
I was going to say, I like Christian Watson, but 21 is kind of high because, like, if you look at some of the guys later in the 20s, I like them more, especially, like pretty much what you said. I don't think Jordan Love's going to be able to support guys like that. Romeo Doubs, I was torn on that because I think that's another one where I'd probably lean F, but I'll go underrated. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
I don't know. I might just switch it. I might just put. I don't know. I don't know what to do in this offense. I actually like these players. Like, I think they're fine players. I just don't know how to value them. And I look at all their prices, and it's just like slightly more than what I think they should be.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, I'm torn right now on Sorry, I'm getting ahead, but Jefferson, because I just realized I put you. But
the problem with Jefferson, combine the two. The problem with Jefferson is that, like, you can trade him for like an elite quarterback at this point. Like, you can probably move him into Mahomes, Josh Allen, or Jalen Hurts pretty easily, and at that point, I think I'd rather just do that.
Let me look where he is. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. He's
like
I just look where he was in comparison to quarterbacks.
I don't think you'd be able to move him into Mahomes or Allen. Hurts.
No, not Mahomes or Allen.
Not like straight up, but even like just a little extra to like tack on that. I think
you can move him into like Herbert.
I don't know if I'd do that, but
yeah, I think so like Justin Fields definitely.
Right now, he's.
Yeah,
I mean,
but,
again,
again, I don't know if I do
keep
that.
trade cut. He's ahead of. I don't think you're ever pulling this trade off, but he's ahead of Burrow slightly. Again,
What about like Trevor Lawrence?
He's ahead of Lawrence. He's ahead of Lamar. He's behind. The only quarterbacks he's behind is Mahomes, Allen, and Hurts.
Yeah, at this point, we're just comparing. Like it's Jordan Jefferson, Jordan Jefferson, geez, JT. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase are like tier of their own. I think at this point in terms of wide
Yeah, and then
receivers.
like that second
CD's kind
tier,
of
it's
knocking
like
on that door.
it's like AJ Brown, CD.
Yeah. But I think Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase are definitely better than the rest, and they're, I mean, kind of, I would say, kind of still interchangeable.
Offense. Like,
My guy Terrace Marshall was there too, and he hasn't done anything.
And last thing, I do like Dobbs and Reed. I don't completely hate them, but fact of the matter is that I'd probably take a second round pick over either of them right now.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh, is that where the value? If so, then I'll probably switch over. Yeah,
it's like close to it. Dobbs is right there.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna say my piece on Addison because I have underrated on Jefferson, Hawkinson, and Addison.
Yeah. Her cousin Truther.
Yeah, I just think that this is a good offense. I think that you shouldn't be scared of the other players and the other teams and whatever. You should just evaluate the player that you're looking at. And good players are going to end up being good. And even though he's wide receiver 18, when you look at the actual price and the fact that his startup ADP is 506, Jordan Addison is a smash draft pick in startups right now, and probably a pretty darn good actual pick. Nasty sophomore year profile, first round pick NFL talent. He's on a good offense. He has a good quarterback. Don't overthink it. He's a good player. Underrated.
I'm with you. I put overrated. This is another one where I think the rating's about fair. I think he should be in that range around like wide receiver 20, because if he's successful, you can easily see, especially if you have a good rookie season, you're going to get a huge jump, and it's going to help that number one corners are going to be on Jefferson. It's just there are a lot of good young receivers in that range, and if I had to lean one way or another, I could see.
Yeah, that's kind of where I lie too, because I do think he's getting closer to the point of where I'm going to flip it to you. Because it does feel like people have acknowledged like he's just going to be the wide receiver 2 to Justin Jefferson. Like, yeah, sucks, but whatever. So it's gotten to the point where I'm ready to flip it to you. But at the end of the day, yeah, there are just a few other guys right around there that I'd just rather have than Jordan Addison, Quinn Johnston being one of them. The only other thing I'll say though about this team, like I still think Jalen Nailor is criminally underrated. Like at 495
picked him up because of you.
Yeah, 495 keep trade cut value. That's like saying he's not worth a roster spot. He's worth a roster spot. He's going to. I think he's better than KJ Osborne. KJ Osborne's like 60 wide receiver spots ahead of him. Time will tell, but I feel pretty confident that Jalen Nailor is going to be on that field a lot more than KJ Osborne is. That's all. Anything else you guys wanted to add?
Nope. That's the NFC North over-unders. I think we're going to call it here. So if you made it this far, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. We'll catch you next Tuesday. Peace out. Have a good one.